A very good afternoon, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, friends and partners. All protocols observed. Good afternoon. Welcome to you all to this high-level event at UNGA80. My name is Foli Batibo, Principal Presenter for Al Jazeera English, based in Doha, Qatar. It is a great honor to be moderating today's gathering, Full Speed Ahead Spotlight Initiative. It is about one clear message. If we want to be better, we need to do it together. That is the theme, of course, of this year's United Nations General Assembly. We must prioritize the safety, dignity, and equality of women and girls if we want to be together. Now, since its launch in 2017, Spotlight Initiative has become the world's largest targeted effort to end all forms of violence against women and girls. It has shown us that real change is possible, saving lives every single day, empowering survivors and strengthening systems. Today, we celebrate progress, but we also know the urgency. Violence against women and girls is still one of the most widespread human rights violations in the world. And progress remains fragile, of course. Technology has created new frontiers of harm, especially for young people. So today, we'll hear from global leaders, activists, advocates, and influencers, all of whom will share their experiences and commitments towards ending violence against women and girls. And we will also chart the way forward with the launch of the Africa Regional Program 2.0. It's going to be a great afternoon. To begin, I would like to welcome our partners, the partners of the Spotlight Initiative, who have been instrumental in making this initiative successful. Please join me in welcoming first Her Excellency Ms. Amato Amoa, Commissioner for Health, Humanitarian Affairs and Social Development at the African Union, for her opening remarks.
Should I come here or should
You can do it from there.
Okay.
Yes, you can do it from there.
Wonderful.
And if you would like to hear more clearly, perhaps you do wear your headsets. And if you require interpretation, you will also get that through your headsets.
Okay.
Please go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you all. It's an honor for me to join you today at this important side event of the Spotlight Initiative, Full Speed Ahead, a global partnership to eliminate violence against women and girls. For 8 decades, this assembly has stood for justice, dignity, and progress. Yet across the world, and acutely in Africa, women and girls continue to face systematic discrimination and violence, rooted in entrenched cultural and social norms. Globally, 1 in 3 women experience physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. However, in Africa, nearly 40% of women report experiencing gender-based violence, with young women and adolescent girls disproportionately affected. This is not only a human rights crisis, but a development crisis, undermining growth, productivity, and stability. These injustices intersect with wider crises: climate change, migration, conflict, and pandemics, which all disproportionately impact women and girls. For example, African women make up 70% of cross-border informal traders, yet face harassment, exploitation, and violence along trade routes. In conflict zones, sexual and gender-based violence is still used as a weapon of war, eroding peace and trust. The urgency could not be more evident. Neither Africa's Agenda 2063 nor the Sustainable Development Goals can be achieved without ending violence against women and girls. That is why today's gathering is so critical. It reflects the trilateral partnership of the African Union, the European Union, and the United Nations through the Spotlight Initiative, Africa Regional Program. This initiative aligns with the continental, regional, and national efforts to prevent and respond to gender-based violence, strengthen the rule of law, and empower women and girls. The European Union's commitment of 20 million euros to the next phase of the program, even aimed at financial strain, is commendable. Phase 1 has already delivered tangible results, expanding access to services, empowering civil society, and reinforcing laws that protect women and girls. Phase 2 will scale these gains further, harmonizing with AU frameworks such as Agenda 2063 and strengthening the structural and institutional mechanisms needed for lasting change. We know the evidence. Investment in women and girls is transformative. Closing gender gaps in education, health, and employment could add billions annually to Africa's GDP. Eliminating violence against women is therefore not only a moral imperative, it is an economic necessity, vital for resilient societies and sustainable development. As we move into this next phase, let us renew our collective commitment to a future where women and girls live free from fear. Their talents are fully realized, and their leadership drives Africa's social, economic, and political renewal. I warmly invite all of you to join us at the continental launch of the Spotlight Initiative Africa Regional Program, to be held on the margins of the 2026 AU Summit. This will be an opportunity to celebrate progress, deepen our partnerships, and reaffirm our shared resolve to unlock the full potential of Africa's women and girls. Together, let us move decisively toward a future defined by equality, dignity, and shared prosperity for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, for your continental leadership. Thank you for placing women's empowerment and social development at the very heart of Africa's Agenda 2063. And we look forward to the launch of the Spotlight Initiative on the African continent next year in 2026. Thank you very much. Next, please welcome His Excellency Mr. Joseph Sikela, European Commissioner for International Partnerships. The European Commission has, of course, been with Spotlight from day one, not just as a donor, but as a true partner. Commissioner, you have the floor.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I am so pleased to join you this afternoon. It is not often that we can measure the impact of an investment in terms of lives saved. Yet, each year, the Spotlight Initiative saves the lives of at least 1,800 women. Since its creation in 2017, the initiative has helped prevent violence for more than 21 million women and girls. This is a remarkable achievement, a clear example of multilateral cooperation making an enormous, concrete difference in people's lives. The Spotlight Initiative has helped to rewrite laws, challenge harmful attitudes, and support survivors in 26 countries around the world, always guided by civil society and women's voices. We are now building on this success and taking it to a new level with Spotlight 2.0. We have already launched new programs in Ecuador, Uganda, Sierra Leone, and Liberia, with more in the pipeline. I want to thank the United Nations and the African Union for their partnership in these efforts. The Spotlight Initiative Africa Regional Program 2.0, announced today here in New York, will bring us closer to ending the surge of gender-based violence. Led by local African partners, this next phase will expand the program to more countries and align with continental frameworks such as the African Union's Agenda 2063. Violence against women and girls has no place in today's world. The European Union is leading the fight to eliminate it, and I am proud to stand behind this effort. At the heart of our approach is the conviction that lasting change begins at the local level. Through Spotlight 2.0, we will continue to empower women's rights organizations to lead advocacy, hold governments and other stakeholders accountable, and drive progress in Africa and beyond. Dear colleagues, the global landscape for gender equality grows more hostile by the day. Decades of hard-won progress are being threatened by rising violence, both online and offline, and by the shrinking space for civil society. We cannot let happen this. The European Union is leading the fight through initiatives such as the Generation Equality Action Coalition, and we are cultivating new partnerships, including the trilateral cooperation between the United Nations, World Bank, and European Commission, launched under Spotlight last year. We remain committed to tackling the root causes of inequality and supporting reforms that empower women and girls. Our commitment to gender equality must be present in everything we do, in a truly 360-degree approach, including within the EU's international cooperation efforts under the Global Gateway. Our innovative partnerships with countries around the world in energy, job creation, digitalization, and connectivity must always have as a priority the creation of opportunities for girls and women, paving the way to empowerment and independence. All efforts are needed. The eradication of violence against women and girls and the full and effective gender equality is a fight for human dignity and a fight for humanity. The global community must join this fight. Europe is united and committed to this fight. You can always count on us. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner, for that strong message for Europe's commitment, its partnership in empowering women and girls around the world. Thank you very much. And now we're going to hear from the co-chair of Spotlight Initiative's governing body, a tireless champion for women and girls at the highest level of multilateralism. Unfortunately, she could not be here with us in person, but she has sent us a very important message. Please, let's hear from the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, friends, it is a pleasure to join you today, and thank you to the African Union, the European Union, and the Spotlight Initiative for convening us. Violence against women and girls can be prevented. It persists because of choices societies make by what they punish, what they excuse, and what they ignore. These choices have left millions of girls and women unsafe where they should feel most secure, in their homes, in their schools, on their way to work, and in their communities. We're here today for two reasons: because we refuse to accept this, and because we know change is possible. The Spotlight Initiative proves it. With the European Union's leadership and the partnership of the African Union and the UN and communities themselves, laws have been strengthened, services expanded, and millions of women and girls protected. Across Africa, we are driving women's leadership, advancing the Women, Peace and Security agenda, preventing conflict, and building systems of governance that endure. Our work is also about silencing the guns and stopping the chain of violence that follows. the rise in sexual assault, the collapse of services, the fear that keeps women and girls from schools, from jobs, from leading their communities. When the guns fall silent, hope has a chance to speak. This is what real partnership delivers. 21 million women and girls protected and 1,700 lives saved every year through solutions that were built from the ground up and backed by global security. But our work cannot stop at protecting against bodily harm. I want to pause here to underline the vital importance of what happens in the aftermath of violence. Violence steals peace of mind as much as it steals safety. The mental health toll runs deep as trauma, terror, and shame can shadow a lifetime. Families and communities carry those burdens. Unless we meet this hidden crisis with investment in mental health, support for survivors, and safe spaces for healing, we will never break the cycle of violence. And let me be clear, when violence happens inside the home, it is not the woman or child who should leave the home. It is the perpetrator. Safety is rooted in justice, not exile. Though we know the work that has to take place, progress faces headwinds. The pushback against women's rights continues. Aid budgets are shrinking. Conflicts and climate shocks are multiplying risks for women and girls. Still, the determination I have seen, including in this room today, tells me something else. No headwind is stronger than the will of women demanding change and justice. This is the moment to stand firm. We need your political leadership to pass and enforce laws that protect. We need your investment to sustain and expand proven programs. We need your voice to say without hesitation, gender-based violence ends here. Because when the rubber hits the road, these are the choices that determine whether women and girls live in safety or in fear. Spotlight is ready to go further, but it needs more champions to drive even more action. So let's deliver. Let's move full speed ahead, because progress will be measured in one simple way, whether women and girls can live free from fear in every home, every school, every workplace, every community. By 2030, that must be our reality. Thank you.
Our thanks to the Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed for those inspiring remarks. She apologizes for not being here in person with us. We now move on, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hear now from government leaders and ministers whose leadership is vital in translating these commitments into action. Each minister and leader present will deliver a brief statement, and we will begin with His Excellency David Moinina Senge, Chief Minister of the Republic of Sierra Leone, for his statement, please.
Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to deliver these remarks on behalf of His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio and the people of Sierra Leone at this very important gathering. A gathering that speaks to a cause that is both deeply personal to the President and profoundly global, the elimination of violence against women and girls. On behalf of the government and people of Sierra Leone, I would like to commend the European Union, the African Union, and the United Nations for their steadfast partnership in the Spotlight Initiative. In Sierra Leone, we know that the dignity, security, and empowerment of women and girls are inseparable from the progress of our nation. That is why our government enacted the Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Act and the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act, and is rolling out the Child Rights Bill and many other progressive reforms. We continue to fight sexual and gender-based violence through stronger laws, nationwide awareness, and survival-centered services. But laws alone are not enough. We're embedding gender equality across our big 5 game changers. That's our development framework, from education and skills development to healthcare, youth employment, and digital innovation. We see education as our moral duty. Every girl who completes school is a leader in the making, and including those who unfortunately do not. Every safe delivery is a triumph of dignity. Every protected child is an investment in our collective future. When we choose to define all of this in 2 words in Sierra Leone, we call it radical inclusion. The Spotlight Initiative has been a vital partner in this journey. It has amplified community voices, strengthened institutions, and provided hope where silence once prevailed. As we celebrate this momentous partnership between AU and EU and launch Spotlight Africa Regional Program 2.0 today, Sierra Leone adds its voice to the call. Let us scale up investment, deepen multilateral cooperation, and move full speed ahead until no woman or girl lives in fear of violence. Interestingly, in 2017, at the launch of the Spotlight Initiative 1.0, the chairman was a young Sierra Leonean. Today, he's in the room as the minister, Chernaba, in our government, and he's part of the team tasked with the delivery of this in Sierra Leone today. The Spotlight Initiative matters above all because it is the world's most comprehensive, coordinated effort to end violence against women and girls. And it matters because it brings the attention, alignment, and political will that this is an issue which people have often denied. And it matters because violence against women and girls is not a women's issue. It is a fundamental human rights concern, a development challenge, and a peace and security imperative. No society can prosper, no democracy can thrive, and no nation can be truly free when half its people live in fear or are excluded from opportunity. Earlier this year, I launched the Spotlight Initiative 2.0 in Freetown, and I was glad to learn that in Africa, alongside several countries, Uganda, Zambia, Liberia, we're part of a team that is continuing to push this comprehensive agenda forward. For us in Sierra Leone, beyond launching it, I serve as co-chair of the project steering committee, working closely with our partners at the United Nations and the European Union to ensure that the initiative delivers real and lasting change for our women and girls. Excellencies, eliminating violence against women and girls is not charity, it is justice. It is the foundation of peace, prosperity, and sustainable development. Let us together reaffirm that commitment today with urgency, with courage, with grace, and with unwavering resolve. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Senge, for that powerful statement. We'll now hear from Her Excellency Ms. Gema Teta Koli, Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection of the Republic of Liberia.
Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to join you at this high-level event on the Spotlight Initiative. We meet at a very pivotal time, 30 years after the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, and with just 5 years remaining to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. The Spotlight Initiative, the world's largest targeted effort to end violence against women and girls, has driven transformative results in Liberia. It is more than a program. It is a partnership that strengthens our institutions and advances our vision for equality. In phase 1, between 2019 to 2023, over 145,000 women and girls accessed critical services, and we were also able to pass the Domestic Violence Act. We also established the National GBV Call Center, and that center was able to reach nearly 1.4 million people through prevention and awareness campaigns. These gains, of course, set the stage for Spotlight 2.0. And it is our hope that in the coming years, we will expand survivor-centered services and strengthen key government ministries. I'm glad to have in the room with me the ministers of both education and health attending this side event, because the Spotlight Initiative is something that is very critical to Liberia. And being here in the room and listening to other countries and also sharing our own story on how it has benefited us is something that we see as an opportunity. Over the next 5 years, an estimated 4.2 million people are expected to benefit directly from Spotlight 2.0. We are committed to national ownership of this initiative and have reopened the GBV call center, extensively allowing survivors to access the platform and are able to be directed to services that are required. The government of Liberia, of course, has also been able to, through budgetary provision, support other key structures from Spotlight 1.0 to ensure sustainability. So with the presence of Spotlight 2.0, we are hopeful that the initiating interventions that are required will continue to make the necessary impact on our communities. We are also rolling out the new National Action Plan on GBV and also an accountability framework to set clear national goals. We are committed to eliminating harmful practices, not just saying it. And because of the government's commitment, we are permanently banning harmful cultural ones, making what was earlier from Spotlight 1.0 a 3-year moratorium on different harmful practices will now be elevated to having laws through different kinds of engagements with key stakeholders, especially the custodians of our culture, to ensure that this is sustainable and will yield the needed impact that we hope to see in the near future. We are also proud to be a Beijing Plus 30 trailblazer, something that commits us even more to ensuring that the required laws that are needed to end violence against women and girls are instituted. So under our arrest agenda for inclusive development, the UNGA80, we aim to significantly reduce gender-based violence by 2009. This is something that is clear in our development agenda. And so the government of Liberia, under His Excellency, takes this very seriously. And so every policy document at the national level does not ignore the fact that whatever any country does has to take into consideration women's protection, inclusion, because there's no country that grows and develops without an inclusive society. And so our government is very keen on how women are included in decision-making processes and how violence can completely come to an end against women. The progress that we celebrate today as a country demonstrates the power of partnership. We trust that through the Spotlight 2.0, we'll be able to, as a country, demonstrate real ownership, because we believe that sustainability is rooted in how national government and institutions can own these processes. And we want to be very grateful to the EU, the United Nations country team in Liberia, for the support and how they've stood alongside with us to push the issue of national ownership. Something I also want to say is the importance of mobilizing the political will of every government and the commitment to ensure that Spotlight 2.0 and beyond, can make transformative impact on the country. It's for us to continue to value the place of national ownership so that sustainability remains a critical part of all the project designs that we do at our national level alongside with the UN system. I'd like to mention in this room that the resources that we get as a country and the efforts that we make to bring about change have to come with intentionality. How governments that are receiving these supports and the systems that have been instituted to support governments are intentional about what is it we want to achieve. If we are bringing an end to violence against women, we have to be very intentional about the approaches, how we do it as a country. Just speaking from Liberia's experience, ownership at the grassroots level has helped a lot. And I would like to encourage other countries to ensure that local ownership become a critical part of the approach that we use. 2 weeks ago, I was in a meeting on Spotlight 2.0, and we're talking about ending FGM. And everyone in the room was kind of surprised and asking, why are we laying so much emphasis on FGM? And I told them the way to do it is for the custodian of the culture to have a buy-in in ending harmful practices. Otherwise, we have a relapse. And Liberia stands very proud to announce that the engagement that we have started is gaining momentum, and we can assure this body that in the soonest, Liberia will announce a very good news and will express the impact that the world wants to see. To conclude, I'd like to say that Liberia stands very much ready to continue this journey with all of our partners working towards a future where every woman and girl can live free of fear. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister Colley, for that powerful statement and for highlighting some of the actions that you are taking in Liberia. Thank you very much. Before we move on, I'd kindly like to ask the speakers, the partners, to please keep your statements brief to 2 minutes so that we can allow as many statements as possible. Next, we'll hear from His Excellency Mr. Maxime Prévost, Deputy Prime Minister of Belgium and Minister of Foreign Affairs, European Affairs and Development Cooperation.
Thank you, Madam. Distinguished guests, colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for my late arrival. And on top of that, I will have to leave soon and go next door to emphasize Belgium's commitment to rights of LGBTIQ persons, because we don't want to leave anyone behind. And I remember I was in that room something like 10 years ago. At that time, I was the first male minister in Belgium in charge of women's rights. And maybe at that time it was surprising, but it made sense. Defending women's rights should certainly not be reserved for women alone. And it is, according to me, and I'm sure according to you, definitely a universal struggle. And 30 years ago, in Beijing, The world promised gender equality. Yet today, 1 in 3 women still suffers violence, physical, sexual, psychological, or economic. Behind every number is a face, a story, a stolen opportunity. Violence against women is not only an assault on individuals, it is an assault on rights, dignity, and our collective future. From girls denied education in Afghanistan and Gaza, to survivors of female genital mutilation in Senegal or Burkina Faso, to women all around the world seeking justice. This fight is definitely universal. And Belgium remains firmly committed. And let me highlight 3 priorities. First, a holistic response. Survivors must have access to medical, psychological, legal, and economic support. Belgium has adopted a national action plan aligned with the Istanbul Convention to ensure prevention, protection, and accountability. Second, inclusion. Real progress is only possible if policies are shaped with women's and youth organizations. Survivor participation is essential, and without their voices, change cannot last. Third, technology facilitates violence. Online harassment, cyber stalking, non-consensual image sharing. These are real threats, silencing women and girls. We must invest in digital literacy, safe platforms, survivor-centered interventions, and youth-focused solutions that protect and empower. Distinguished guests, this struggle is getting harder. Anti-gender movements are on the rise, undermining women's rights. That is why initiatives like Spotlight are crucial. They unified governments. Because ending violence against women and girls is not only right, it is a condition for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. No woman, no girl can participate fully and equally if she lives in fear. So let us stand together within my 2 minutes. Governments, organizations, communities, individuals, all together, let us ensure every woman, every girl lives free from fear, free from coercion, free from violence. Our resources may be limited, but our determination must be unlimited. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister Prévost, for that powerful statement. Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellencies. Your voices remind us that national leadership, national ownership is a cornerstone of Spotlight's initiative success. Thank you so much for your statements. Now, we'll now hear from additional high-level partners who have each played an instrumental role in advancing Spotlight's work. First, we'll hear from Ms. Anna Beerde, Managing Director of Operations of the World Bank. Okay, she has not joined us then. Okay, thank you very much. Next, we will hear from Ms. Christy Coventry, who's just joined us, President of the International Olympic Committee.
Thank you, and good afternoon to you all. I have actually been here the whole time, but apparently there were a few people that didn't show up. So even though my name was up here, I was sitting in the front, and thank you to all the speakers. You did great. I'm very proud of you. Your Excellencies, as we've heard, we're here to address something urgent and deeply painful: violence against women and girls. This is one of the most widespread violations of human rights. It's not just a women's issue, as we've heard, but it's a human issue, and it concerns all of us. No single organization can solve this alone. Partnership is key, and the Spotlight initiative shows what we can achieve when we work together. Sport also has a vital role. And while sport is a mirror of society, and it's not immune to violence, it can be a powerful part of the solution. Sport can give girls confidence, teach respect, and break down harmful gender stereotypes. At the IOC, promoting sport as a force for good is central to our mission. We support hundreds of projects that use sport to advance the UN Sustainability Goals, from education to health, from gender equality to peace. These projects are already reaching millions around the world. Investing in sport is a low-cost but high-packed solution. With the right partnerships, it's one of the most effective ways to reach communities, change attitudes, and most importantly, protect lives. This is why I'm proud to announce we are deepening our collaboration with the United Nations. And together with the Spotlight Initiative, we will expand the contribution of sport to ending violence against women and girls through advocacy, training, and direct support to community programs. To truly make a difference, we need strong partnerships, political will, and continued investment, because we know that investing in sport works. Sport is about thriving for something better every single day. Let us commit today to building a future where every woman and every girl can live and play free from violence and free from fear. The Olympic movement is ready to play its part, and together we can make this future a reality. Thank you to you all.
Thank you so much, Ms. Coventry, for highlighting the role of sports as a platform for empowerment and change, and for your deepening commitment to continue working with the United Nations on this. Thank you very much. Now, we will hear from civil society, which has been at the heartbeats, really, of Spotlight Initiative. We now have a powerful voice in the movement, Dr. Abiola Akiyode Afolabi, a member of the Global Reference Group and a leader in advancing women's rights in Africa. Dr. Abiola.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here to speak on behalf of the Spotlight Initiative, Civil Society Global Reference Group. I want to start by first thanking all the speakers for commending Spotlight's initiative. It's as one of the best that we have ever had. Spotlight Initiative has demonstrated the gains of partnership, and that's what we are celebrating today. The gains of bottom-up approach, the gains of resilience, and the gains of pushing ahead, and that's why we're seated today to continue to push ahead the benefits that the Spotlight has brought to us as people of the world. I want to celebrate the commitment that has been made, particularly by the African Union, the European Union, the UN, and government of Sierra Leone, Liberia, Uganda, and other very key institutions also seated around here. The civil society is no doubt critical, and as Global Reference Group, we play a very key role in ending violence against women and girls, in prevention of violence against women and protecting women and girls, and advocating the shared vision. The GRG complements the indomitable value of the Spotlight's initiative comprehensive approach and its tangible impact on the lives of women and girls. As we approach 2030, we will appreciate a shift in resources and more commitment, to address and prevent violence against women and girls. And I can hear from government speaking today that seems to be what we have resolved to do. As Spotlight, there has been a lot of gains, there have been a lot of impact and achievement. And I think we have also had one testimony from Liberia and Sierra Leone also today in terms of laws and policies that have changed in the last 5 years as a result of Spotlight Initiative. Over 540 laws and policies have since changed. There has also been increase in conviction rate. I can say that clearly coming from Nigeria, that if there is a comparison between now and 5 years ago, Spotlight has indeed changed the face of conviction rates in Nigeria. The national budget has also shifted in some countries and also support services. And I think I also had that from the table today. Of course, awareness and education has doubled, tripled. Millions of people have gone to understand and know about violence against women, prevention, and what have you. So today, as we gather at the United Nations, with a united purpose to end violence against women and girls worldwide, as we embark on this critical journey, because we hear the AU saying in 2026 there's going to be a regional launch. I want to call everyone I want to say full speed ahead to partnership that will drive change and protect the rights of half of our world population. To government, civil society, and individual, I want to urge you to join us in this effort. Let's shine a light on this critical issue and work towards a future where every woman and girl can live free from violence and fear. Full speed ahead. We can create a safer, more just world. Full speed ahead. We will protect the rights and dignity of women and girls. Full speed ahead. We will end violence against women and girls collectively. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Afolabi, for that powerful message from civil society. Thank you once again to all of our high-level speakers for their insightful and inspiring remarks. Your leadership and commitment reminds us of the power of collective action across governments, institutions, and civil society. Before we continue, we will take a brief moment to take a look at a short video which highlights the impact of Spotlight's work. Take a look.
Around the world, efforts to end violence against women and girls remain dangerously underfunded. But sustained investment, particularly from domestic public funds, is essential for transformative change. That's why domestic resource mobilization is a core part of Spotlight Initiative's model. During a national emergency on gender-based violence in Liberia, Spotlight Initiative helped strengthen the Ministry of Finance's Gender-Responsive Planning and Budgeting Unit. This led to more than $2 million of dedicated funds to roll out a new anti-sexual and gender-based violence roadmap. Spotlight Initiative programs in all regions also engage political leaders across ministries and at both national and district levels to build a wide cross-section of champions who could advocate for a more supportive legislative environment, including through the development of action plans. In Trinidad and Tobago, the Minister of Gender and Child Affairs, a committed advocate, persisted in advancing a national strategic action plan despite its initial failure in 2016. In Papua New Guinea, Spotlight Initiative helped convene a coalition of civil society actors and other key stakeholders to build momentum on ending violence against women and girls. This unprecedented political engagement contributed to the country's first dedicated national budget for ending violence against women and girls. Notably, this budget increased by 20%, marking a significant boost in national investment to address gender-based violence. Spotlight Initiative's domestic resource mobilization efforts can be reliably tied to nearly $50 million mobilized across just 4 countries alone. As overseas development aid declines, domestic public resources offer a reliable foundation for sustainable efforts to end violence against women and girls, ensuring consistent funding and long-term impact. Learn more about how this is possible on our website.
Thank you very much. That video, yes, deserves a round of applause, and it's a powerful reminder of why we're here today. Spotlight's message has reached millions around the world through art, culture, and advocacy. It's now my honor to welcome Spotlight Initiative's global advocate, UN Global Advocate, Cecilia Suarez, a Platino Award winner, an Ariel Award nominee, and the first Spanish-speaking actress nominated for an international Emmy. Ms. Suarez has raised awareness on violence against women and girls for millions of people worldwide. Since 2018, she's been a powerful voice of the Spotlight Initiative, particularly in Latin America, with a focus on ending femicide. Join me in welcoming her to the stage, Cecilia Suarez.
Good morning, Your Excellencies, friends. I am switching to my native Spanish. Aquí estamos, agradeciendo los avances logrados en violencia de género con empeño y salvaje determinación. Pero también, como tantas otras veces, enfrentándonos al ya volveremos al asunto de las mujeres. Porque pareciera que siempre hay asuntos más urgentes que atender. Mientras tanto, una de cada 3 mujeres experimentará violencia sexual o física a lo largo de su vida.
Over it.
Y frente a este escenario se abre paso la inteligencia artificial y con ella un diluvio de nuevas formas de violencia digital, sextorsión,
and therefore a rise in
violencia basada en
sexual
imagen,
extortion,
doxing, ciberbullying, acoso
cyberbullying,
sexual, preparación o grooming para la agresión sexual,
harassment
discurso
online,
de odio,
sharing
por mencionar
of images
algunos.
without consent, just to
Pero
name a few.
vayamos un poco más lejos. El Internet se ha convertido en un campo de entrenamiento de odio hacia las mujeres
a
por
training
vía
ground for
de la
hate
machosfera.
against women
Y esto nos lleva a
through machismo.
preguntarnos,
And this
pasa
means we need to
con
ask
los
ourselves, what is happening with
¿Cómo
men?
explicarnos un foro
How can
de
we
32,000
explain
participantes
that
en
a forum
Facebook,
of 32
en el cual
million
cada
people
uno
on
de esos
Facebook,
32,000
in which
hombres
every one of
compartían
those
fotos e
32
imágenes íntimas
million
de
men
sus propias parejas
share
sin su
intimate photos
consentimiento
of their
para
partners
ser
without their consent
calificadas?
so they can be
¿Dónde
judged?
y de qué forma los hombres han situado a las
Where
mujeres de su
and
vida
how
y por ende
have these
a
men
las mujeres
learned
en
this from the
general?
women in their lives?
Hoy también 300 millones de infancias han sido
300
afectadas por
million
explotación sexual y
childhoods
abuso
have been
infantil en
affected
línea a
by
lo largo de
childhood
los
sexual
últimos
exploitation and
12
harassment.
meses. 300 millones
That's just in the
de
last 2
infancias
months.
en un
300
año.
million.
Existe
Just
un
this year.
crecimiento exponencial de
There's an
grupos
exponential
antiderechos de
growth
la mujer,
in
así como
anti-women's
nuevas
rights
formas
groups,
tecnológicas
as well
que
as new
refuerzan el
technological
pensamiento y los actos de
methods that
misoginia,
reinforce
al grado en que
misogynistic
hoy
ways of
un
thinking.
apabullante número de chicos jóvenes
So today,
no creen que la
an
violencia de
unimaginable
género
number of
es
young
real
men
y
believe
existe.
that violence against women is
Necesitamos
actually real
de
and
manera
exists.
urgente un marco
This
legal
is why
que regule
we
el Internet
desperately
en
need
todas sus
a legal
fases.
framework to
Se
regulate
requiere
the
que los
internet in all its
intermediarios
forms.
tecnológicos se
Technological
responsabilicen
intermediaries
de detectar,
need to take
evaluar
responsibility for
y
detecting,
direccionar de manera
evaluating,
proactiva el
and
comportamiento de
proactively
sus
guiding
usuarios y
the
que
behavior
estos
of their
sean sujetos
users.
de consecuencias legales
And those users
llegado
need to be
el
subject
caso.
to legal consequences
Entendamos algo.
for violations.
La
We do know
violencia
something.
que mujeres
We
y
know
niñas
that violence against
experimentan
women
en
and
línea
girls
tiene
online
exactamente el mismo impacto
has the exact
que la
same
violencia
impact
experimentada
as
fuera
violence
de línea.
that is experienced
Su repercusión
offline.
y secuelas alcanzan la
The
misma
repercussions
magnitud.
reach the same
Y la
magnitude. They are
pregunta
just as
regresa.
bad. And so we return to the
¿Cuál
question,
es el impulso que lleva a un hombre a
what
ejercer
is the
violencia?
driver that makes a
Y
man
sabemos que
become
no todos
violent?
los hombres, no,
We know that
pero
it's not
siempre
all
un
men,
hombre.
of course,
La violencia de género pareciera ser un
Gender-based
látigo
violence
que alcanza únicamente a las mujeres, pero no.
to be something that reaches
No
only
es así.
women, but that's
De igual
actually
forma,
not true.
exige a los hombres despojarse de su verdadera
Equally,
complejidad en
it
la cual
demands
sentir
that
dudas, llorar,
men
reconocerse
understand
frágil
how to express
está prohibido
doubts, how
y en la que
to
cualquiera
be
de estas
vulnerable,
manifestaciones
and how
se
to
entiende y
cry, how to show
representa
emotion.
como el ser menos hombre.
And
Comencemos
they need
por
to be able to
entender
do this
que el
without being
género
judged as
no
less
es
of a man.
cuantificable. Hoy
The
es
impacts of
imperativo
gender-based violence
imaginar
cannot
un
be
mundo virtual
quantified.
y en línea bajo
We have a
reglas
virtual
claras
world
y
online
precisas, bajo
that
una
needs
mirada que
clear
no
and
niegue
precise
lo que a
rules.
todas luces comienza a repetirse una y otra vez.
Because the same
Acción
things keep happening
ahora.
over and over again, and
Marco
we need action
jurídico para
now.
Internet
We need a legal
ahora.
framework for the internet
hoy.
now. Today is the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Cecilia, for those powerful words. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you very much. We now shift into a conversation that brings together advocates from different fields. I'd like to invite our panelists to the stage for discussions on how we create this digital future free from violence against women and girls that Cecilia was talking about. Joining Cecilia Suarez now is Ms. Amanda Nguyen, civil rights astronaut, CEO and founder of RISE. Ms. Uldos Wallace, actress and activist. Mr. Gary Barker, President and CEO of Equimundo, and Ms. June Sugiyama, Director at Vodafone Americas Foundation. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you very much. Yes, a round of applause, please, for our panelists. As we heard from Cecilia, and as we've been hearing, technology is transforming our world, creating, of course, unprecedented opportunities for women and girls around the globe to connect, advocate, and lead, while also fueling new forms of abuse, harassment, and exploitation. From your perspective as advocates, survivors, researchers, private sector leaders, and activists, what is the most urgent action that you're taking to ensure that digital spaces are safe for women and girls? Amanda, let me start with you, because you've turned your personal experience into this global movement for survivors. Talk to us about what you experience and what do you think we should be doing now at this stage to change what we've seen growing online?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, thank you so much for being here, for listening to our voices. You know, I asked today, actually, whether or not to show up in a Vietnamese áo dài, or to show up in a suit, or to show up in my flight suit. And the answer that I got was the impact of what showing up in a flight suit would mean to young people across the world. And so I'm here, thank you. I am here proud to be an astronaut. I'm also here as a rape survivor. You know, for me, being a survivor of gender-based violence means living in a world that perhaps hasn't yet caught up to what I hope the world would be, which is full of justice, which is one that listens with compassion to survivors. You know, I am so grateful to advocates. I'm so grateful to the dignitaries, to people here. I remember what it was like to give up my astronaut dreams after I was raped. I remember what it felt like to walk out of the hospital. I'd never more fully understood the definition of lonely until that moment. But when I look out at this crowd, I am not lonely anymore. Of course, there are so many survivors who never get this moment, and a large part of that is because of what we see online. It's how people talk about us. And it's not only that, it's the way that the algorithm has fed into the echo chambers that push extremism. You know, for us, being able to tell our stories is so key to creating that empathy with decision makers, with just people, peer-to-peer. But when we see that algorithms are not neutral, when they're coded by people who may not have heard our stories, who may not be trauma-informed, what we get is the reality of today, which is that it is still difficult to be a survivor, to talk about the stigma that we face, it's still difficult to share our stories. And so spaces like today are so important, and I want to thank you for being here, for having the space to listen to our stories, and also for showing all survivors that our dreams can come true. You know, I just have to say that the statistics for gender-based violence is that it impacts women in STEM. Some studies show that up to 50% of women are deterred from continuing their career in STEM because of gender-based violence. And I used to be one of those, and I want to make sure that that statistic is closed. So thank you so much again for listening to our stories and for making everywhere a safe place, both in reality and online.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you for your powerful message and for sharing your story with us. Thank you for speaking up. Thank you so much. Cecilia, let me come to you. You have been an advocate for many years now. What is the biggest change you hope to see for women and girls online in the immediate, obviously, but also in 5 years, in 2030?
Online, this always happens to me. I never turn the mic on. Online and offline. I hope for children, boys, and young men and men to be educated in a very different frame. We have two wonderful boys here today, and I'm so happy that they're here listening to all of this, because they are the future. We need to educate our boys and our young men from a different perspective. And that's crucial because we keep asking what women need. We need men to join this fight. We need men to join this fight. And as a society, we need to implement education that talks to men directly. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Crucial to involve men, indeed. Thank you so much, Cecilia, for that. Ulduz Wallace, let me come to you. You've spoken about technology-facilitated violence. Can you share how this issue has personally affected you and other women in public spaces, and also what systemic changes you think are urgently needed?
Yeah. First of all, thank you all for having me. My name is Ulduz Wallace, founder of Foundation Raw and the Protect Act, which is a bill that protects everyone from getting exploited online. So when we have protections towards women and girls when it comes to the physical realm, there's some protections in place, although let's face it, they're not perfect. They're a lot of times imperfect. But when it comes to the digital realm, they're pretty much non-existent. Here in the US, they allow abuse material to be uploaded to platforms, and once the damage is done, they tell you, oh, you can take it down. Well, we already could do that, but the problem is it shouldn't be uploaded in the first place, and we're also talking about child sexual abuse material. So why are we passing laws that allows child sexual abuse material to be uploaded in the first place? I mean, that's pretty outrageous, right? So now we're talking about men's violence that includes rape, trafficking, domestic violence, abuse, all kinds of humiliation, and all kinds of abuse getting recorded and uploaded to online platforms. So now it's gotten so bad that with technology advancing, there's deepfake and AI technology. They're looking to exploit everyone. It could be everyone in this room, everybody that you love. They're just looking for faces to swap out with deepfake technology. And they can get that from your social media or taken without your knowledge. So with that being said, we need stronger laws. The Protect Act is one solution by verifying age verification and consent for uploaders. And I think that that's the most common sense thing to do, is to block it from ever getting online to adult sites. Nobody should be able to upload whatever they want with just an email address to adult sites. I think we can all agree on that.
Thank you so much, Ulduz, for that. Thank you. A round of applause, please. Thank you. Gary Barker, let me come to you. Cecilia and all the panelists have spoken about the importance of educating men. From your research on masculinities and gender norms, how do young men experience and sometimes perpetrate tech-facilitated violence? And what are the effective interventions, in your view, to end this, to stop it?
First off, thanks for the invitation and congratulations to the Spotlight colleagues for all this work and what still needs to be done. I do want to start by saying whether it's tech-related or tech-facilitated violence or offline violence, I think we should call it what it is, which is men's violence against women and girls and sometimes against boys and other men. But I think we need to add that word in there, not to decenter what happens to women, but to acknowledge where it happens and who we need to call out. As I say the need to call out, which we need to do even more online, absolutely we need better tech regulation, but we also need more men stepping in. We need more men to be called into this conversation. And what do we mean by that? How do we make the case to men that nonviolence, respect, a caring version of manhood is good for not only for women and girls who too often and tragically are experiencing this violence, but for men themselves? What we see again and again as we've named all these new forms of violence online is the same thing that happens too often offline. The majority of men are not carrying it out, but the majority of men are silent. The chat rooms, the spaces, the gaming platforms, the TikTok spaces, the YouTube spaces, all of these as the spaces where young men are hanging out, call it the manosphere if you want. Other young men see the violence and aren't speaking out. They see their peers who are the perpetrators of it, and they're not doing anything about it. And here's the other piece that I think we, as a field of trying to end violence against women and girls of all kinds, have been perhaps short-sighted on, which is men's stake in a better, more equitable, nonviolent world. Our research finds that some 40% of young men have experienced homophobic bullying online. We know that many young men experience sextortion. We know that as other forms of sexual violence, the majority of the victims are girls and women, but we know that boys and young men experience it as well. By acknowledging our stake in that, we've got the chance to bring boys and men here. And here's the one kind of sobering statistic that's also an opportunity that I want to leave with you. 70% in our review of the biggest spaces where young men hang out online, 70% is simply life happening online. We're all, I would ask, I'm sure there's no one in the room here who doesn't have their phone next to them. We are all getting our daily doses of dopamine online. We are living there now, all right? So partly we've got to acknowledge young men have a stake in making it safer. Boys are not going online, for the most part, looking for misogyny. Misogyny finds boys online. A very important study that came out from a colleague in Ireland a few months back, looking at the English language manosphere. Within 23 minutes, a young man who goes online, no matter what he is looking for, once the elaborate algorithm figures out who he is, his age, his sex, within 23 minutes, he gets a message about misogyny. So I can lose sleep over that, and I think that is sobering, but I can also think this 23 minutes is a pretty long amount of time for us to figure out what to do. There's a lot that we can fit in 23 minutes. I can talk to my son. We're trying to do some work online. So what are some of the solutions? We're going online with bots that go in with positive messages instead of the misogyny. We're going in engaging influencers because there are many of them there. You don't know their names as much as you know the other ones. But there are plenty of young men who are saying positive things, who don't think this is okay. We're investing in them to provide better messages. The gaming world is where young men hang out, and lots of young women as well. We're going into those spaces, co-designing games with some game makers who are making their mistakes, but they're also willing to allow us and others to go on their platform and have pro-social games where young men promote healthy masculinity. And then we've also got to pull young men offline to invite them to be in the spaces. I very much appreciated the educational spaces that we need to have for young men to talk about this, to put the device down and come join us in this conversation. I appreciate Cecilia saying somos hartas, but I think we need more men in the world to say somos hartos as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gary, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. That was extremely powerful to hear. That partnership that's needed from men is crucial in achieving what what we're here to do. Let me come to you now, Ms. June Sugiyama, and ask you about your perspective from, of course, the industry side of things. How are you working on the industry side? How are you collaborating with the different partners to address this issue?
Great, thank you so much. Yeah. And thank you all. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with all of you and sitting next to Amanda. She is my heroine actually. So Vodafone, as where all of you might know, is a global technology company. What you may not know, which is what I'm here to kind of let you know, is that we used to have 22 foundations worldwide. All of us work for technology for good projects. You might know already about M-Mama in sub-Saharan Africa, where we used a mobile platform to get women to hospitals. You might know of Instant Network Schools, where we use solar-powered platforms to provide education to girls and boys that are in refugee camps. That is also a partnership with some of you, like UNHCR and some corporations. Globally, we launched an app called Bright Sky, which is a domestic violence app to create awareness and provide resources for everyone. So it's not just for survivors, but for family members, friends, and colleagues. For us to launch something like this has enabled us as in companies, and allowing our employees to talk about things like domestic violence. Because when you think about it, I mean, I can talk about statistics here in the United States. Breast cancer is 1 in 5 women. Domestic violence, as we had said, it's 1 in 3 women. But more people talk about a friend or a neighbor or someone who's gone through a medical a program for breast cancer. But not many talk about domestic violence. And so as a company, we've encouraged for us to have conversation and training. We've encouraged our friend corporations to do that as well, and created actually a coalition. We have one in Europe, and we have one here in the United States. And then the other precautions corporations can take, especially technology companies and gaming companies that you were talking about, is to put multi-layer security protocols, and obviously encryption and things like that. But actually there's a several behind the scenes steps that should be taken, which is to include the people who you're developing the app or the solutions for, which are women, that they are at the table, survivors, that they are at the table. And not only that, but they, as well as the company, has a systematic review process on talking to the users and improving the system. So I hope that helps. And one encouragement and homework that I'd like to give you is, wherever it's possible, if you could download Bright Sky, I would like to encourage you to do that.
Thank you so much, June. Thank you. Thank you to all of our panelists for their powerful words, for their recommendations. We've heard that technology can be a force for empowerment, but only if we design and govern it with human dignity at the center. Ending violence against women and girls, online and offline, is not only possible, it is urgent. Please, a round of applause once again to our panelists. And now, to conclude our session, I'd like to welcome Her Excellency Ms. Sima Bahous, Executive Director of UN Women, and Mr. Sat Epi on behalf of the UNFPA Executive Director to deliver their closing remarks. Thank you very much. Please go ahead when you're ready, Ms. Bahous. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, everyone. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, civil society leaders, survivors who continue to guide us and guide our vision every day. We have heard today about the power of collective action to change lives. When governments, when regional bodies, such as the African Union and the European Union, the United Nations, civil society, the private sector, when they come together, something special happens. The Spotlight Initiative has been transformative for the United Nations, stepping up its efforts, showing us new ways of how to place women's rights organizations and movements at the heart of programming, and teaching us again the power of a United Nations that delivers as one. We have heard about the shocking scale of violence against women and girls. The more than 1 in 4 globally and 1 in 3 in Africa who suffer intimate partner violence. The social norms and structures that underpin it, such as the 4 in 5 women in South Sudan who justify it. Despite our achievements, the pushback and the rollback alongside growth in conflict that exacerbates the problem, and the persistent funding shortfalls and recent brutal cuts undermining the essential work of women's organizations. As Spotlight 2.0 continues to expand, we really look forward to continuing to offer our strong technical expertise and policy support to ensure the initiative is grounded in global best practice. UN Women also proudly serves as the permanent co-chair with DCO of the initiative's advisory board and continues to drive and deepen our work to strengthen women's movements in countries and regions. Excellencies, I am pleased to see ending violence against women and girls attracting the highest number of commitments in the Beijing Plus 30 action agenda, including across Africa. We heard it yesterday from more than 140 countries who came to celebrate with all of us, to commemorate with all of us, Beijing Plus 30 yesterday, September 22nd. But we all must do more. I call on donors to match their commitments with funding. There is no better call on their formidable resources. I call on the United Nations to continue to work together ever more coherently on an area where our talk of reform and strengthening should be judged. I call on civil society to continue to lead and hold us all to account. And I also call on the private sector to continue to push women forward and to push forward for women and girls. And I assure you that UN Women stands ready to support all of you. Now is the time to double down. Our lessons are learned, collaborations forged and ready, plans laid out. We must back ourselves, make real our promises to women and girls to finally end this most shameful of violations of the rights of women and girls. And I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Satepie, on behalf of the UNFPA Executive Director.
UNFPA Executive Director, Ms. UNGA80, had to proceed to the next appointment on her agenda, which couldn't be changed, and has asked me, therefore, to deliver her remarks. Saturne Epie is my name, Chief of the UNFPA Representation Office to the African Union, and here is the statement of the UNFPA Executive Directors in extenso. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, partners, and friends, I would like to begin by thanking our colleagues at the Spotlight Initiative for organizing this important dialogue together with the African Union and the European Union. It is an honor to address you as the new Executive Director of UNFPA. I know that everyone here is deeply committed, as we are, to the fundamental rights and dignity of women and girls. Gender-based violence is not just a social issue or a personal tragedy. It is a political failure, and a direct threat to the resilience and prosperity of societies worldwide. It stands firmly in the way of achieving our national, regional, and global development goals, including the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The good news is we know what works. Multi-sector response systems and grassroots movement that drive social change on the ground. Joint UN programs, such as the Spotlight Initiative and the UNFPA, UNICEF global programs to end female genital mutilation and child marriage, have the power to transform lives. Yet, our response to gender-based violence needs to match the scale of the problem. To make gender-based violence history, we need to significantly ramp up domestic resources. I ask you to be bold and unapologetic in advocating for increased investment in proven solutions. It is an investment in more equal, healthy, and thriving societies. It is an investment that we simply cannot afford to miss. The Spotlight Initiative is a true model of working better together. I look forward to renewed political momentum and strengthened partnership from this discussion. Let's continue to galvanize our efforts and resources so that women and girls everywhere can live in peace, free from harm. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the executive heads of UN agencies for their statements. We'll take one statement from the floor and we'll hear from the Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Germany, SIARP Gulen. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. For Germany, it's clear that gender-based violence is both a human rights violation and a major obstacle to sustainable development. That is why Germany continues to fund prevention, survivor-centered services, and accountability mechanism in bilateral and multilateral frameworks. For example, internationally, since 2021, Germany has been supporting the UN Trust Fund to End Violence Against Women, providing 7.9 million euros up to 2024. On overcoming female genital mutilation globally, Germany also supports the joint program of UNFPA and UNICEF on the elimination of female genital mutilation in its fourth phase, providing 1.9 million euros in the last 2 years. The German government also runs an FGM regional project in East Africa, where 25,000 people have been reached so far. We have also supported selected projects in relation to sexual violence in conflict, including the Office of a Special Representative of the Secretary General on Sexual Violence in Conflict. And Pramila Patten will visit Berlin next week. Maybe most important is, we must empower women. And we empower each other in networks. That's why Germany is a committed member and supporter of networks like the African Women Leaders and the German Latin America Unidas Network. We know that violence against women and girls is a problem in Germany too. In Germany, a woman is killed by her partner or ex-partner every 2 days. We have to end it at home as well. The German government started an investment program called Together Against Violence Against Women, and we use it to fund model projects, for example, for innovative women's shelters and protection facilities. We adopted the first comprehensive national action plan to prevent and combat trafficking in human beings. Violence against women is a key part of our international cooperation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you to all of our distinguished guests, speakers, and partners who joined us today. Thank you. We've seen that progress is indeed possible when government, civil society, and the private sector work together, and the Spotlight Initiative is built on that spirit of partnership. And what we've heard today is proof that it remains our greatest strength. Thank you all very much for joining us here, and to all of you watching us online from around the world. Wishing you a great afternoon here at the United Nations. Thank you.